Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
This is Mr. Chris Claremont, a legend.
Melanie goes,
Tired.
it is Monday, all you minties. Like, I needed to remind you when the new work week starts. Sorry about that. But at least, hey, this is the Uncanny Omar, and you know that it's Monday, so we're going to take an advanced look at an upcoming Marvel Omnibus. We're going to be looking at the Web of Spider-Man Omnibus from Marvel Comics. So let's go ahead and get started. And welcome back, everybody. Now, before going any further, a big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us an advanced copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on March 18th or 19th, depending on where you get your books. Now, there are 3 different covers. What we're looking at here is the first direct market cover. This is the one provided by Mike Zeck, and of course comes from Kraven/Hunt, one of the greatest Spider-Man stories, if not the greatest Spider-Man story ever. On the left-hand side is your standard edition cover. That is the one that is supplied by Charles Vess, and that one has a different spine. And compared to this one here, that's the one that's going to be available everywhere. While this direct market cover is only going to be available at places like your local comic book store, cheapgraphicnovels.com, waltzcomicshop.com, bdcosmos.com. But hold on, because there's another direct market cover. The one on the right is also a direct market cover. That one's supplied by Greg LaRocque. And again, a different image on the spine. And the direct market covers, again, will be supplied at those 3 places I mentioned, but also readcomics.com, comicsbugle.com, dyingbreedcollectors.com, organicpricebooks.com, Tales of Wonder, In-Stock Trades, and DCBS. Everything underneath the dust jacket is the same, so let's shift the focus back to this book right here. Now, the very first question I got, and I knew this would happen as soon as I announced it, is why didn't they use the cover by Charles Vess for Web of Spider-Man #1. Probably because that cover was already used for Spider-Man the Complete Black Costume Saga, and it would be confusing, and I understand, right? If I'm looking at this and I see that, I'm like, oh, Web of Spider-Man, and there's a Web of Spider-Man Omnibus. For anybody that's new to collecting Omnis, it can get confusing, so that's probably the reason why. I'm not 100% sure, but I would wager that's the reason why. So this is different than this. People have been asking me how much of this is in here. Just one issue. Web of Spider-Man #1 is what really ends the Black Costume Saga, and it's what kicks this off. So while we have the dust jacket on, let's go ahead and put it on our shelf, because if you're reading these or keeping these books in chronological reading order in omnibus format, it really does go right after the Complete Black Costume Saga. But if you want to start a new line of collections, in case there's a volume 2 of this, and hopefully there will be, you can put it after the Spectacular Spider-Man or Adjectiveless Spider-Man. It's your shelf. You put it wherever you want to. Let's take a closer look at the book itself. Web of Spider-Man. I love this cover. You've got Fingeroth, Nocenti, Michelini, DeMatteis, Silvestri, Zeck, Marvel logo there. Web of Spider-Man, Danny Fingeroth, and Nocenti, David Michelini, J.M. DeMatteis, Mark Silvestri, Mike Zeck, that image right there. And then the covers of the issues that are going to be collected in here. And this is $125 in the Marvel and Team Plus logo. Team Plus probably because of Kraven's Last Hunt. And speaking of Kraven's Last Hunt, I was not expecting the new colors to be on the art on board here. That is really cool. You have the original colors and the new colors. Rest assured, this does use the original colors for Kraven's Last Hunt, not the new colors that were used for the deluxe edition. But let's get this out of the way, because on the spine is that image of Spider-Man right there. And that is, of course, the red and blue costume. And then the new colors of this, I think that's issue 29 of Web of Spider-Man, where Wolverine and Spidey team back up after the whole Wolverine-Spidey #1. All right, we are going to crack this omnibus open, talk about the stories found in here, show off this artwork, look at the extras, and of course, look at the build of this omnibus. All right, Let's go ahead and crack this omnibus open. We have the black end sheets here. Web of Spider-Man right there. And oh my gosh, Louise Simonson, Danny Fingeroff, Tom DeFalco, Ann Nocenti, Peter David, David Michelinie, just to name a few of the writers, pencilers, Greg LaRocque, Jim Mooney, Sal Buscema, Arthur Adams, Mark Silvestri, Mike Zeck, Don Perlin, just to name a few, and inkers Jim Mooney, Vince Coletta, Greg LaRocque, Bob McLeod, colorists like George Russo's, Dr. Martin, Juliana Ferretier, and Bob Sharon, and then your letters like Janice Chang and Phil Felix. And there is a little note here, and I will bring this up when we're flipping through the book here. The content contains depictions of racism and suicide. Reader discretion is advised. That's probably the other reason why there's a T+. There's select art and color restoration right here. And the special thanks to all these wonderful folks. Table of contents right here, breaking down where you're going to find each of the issues and when it was originally published, as well as what it was originally called. And it does kick off with material from Amazing Spider-Man 261 and Spectacular Spider-Man number 100 right here, which is, of course, the symbiote costume. So let's talk about what's collected in here first. Collected in here is Web of Spider-Man 1 through 34 and Web of Spider-Man Annuals 1, 2, and 3. This beautiful Charles Vest cover again. Amazing Spider-Man 268, 293 to 295. Peter Parker to Spectacular Spider-Man 131 to 133. The book has 1,128 pages and retails for $125. This is a really interesting book because after the Marvel team up, it was, oh, what are we going to do with this title? We just had it for years. We need to continue with another Spider-Man title, and lo and behold, we get Web of Spider-Man. So after the discontinued Marvel team up, we started getting this, the third Spider-Man monthly title. There will be a fourth with adjective list, but let's focus on this. Now, I'm going to go ahead and talk about some spoilers because things are happening here that if you're reading this and you're a new reader and you went with Web of Spider-Man Omnibus as your first Spidey Omni, it's going to be a little confusing. So it really relies heavy on how much reading you've done with Amazing Spider-Man. For example, not just the Venom symbiote thing, because it's not Venom yet, right? We're still a few years from Venom. It's still the black costume as we knew it from the pages of Secret Wars and then, of course, Amazing Spider-Man. But in here, you also have Mary Jane trying to figure out if it really is Peter Parker underneath that mask. You've got the whole fight between Aunt May and Peter Parker still happening in the very first issue because he had quit school. He had left ESU, the Empire State University, and he's kind of doing his own thing, and she's having financial issues. So a lot of that was already established in the pages of Amazing Spider-Man and Spectacular Spider-Man. So this feels like a title that was an add-on, a companion, if you will. So it doesn't feel like it's new reader friendly. We've got the first appearance of these new villains, the, what are they called? The Volturions. Like you've got Huncho and Gripes and Sugarface. I love these names, by the way. And Pigeon. Those characters first appear here because they used to do machines for the character of the Vulture. And they're like, hey, why don't we steal some of his equipment and show Spider-Man we mean business? Now, the other thing I mentioned was the symbiote. That's right. This was the ending of the alien costume saga, the black costume saga, call it whatever you will. And the way that it was attached and build that rapport with Peter Parker, it wants to come back to him. So the very first few pages, you see the costume escape the Baxter building after Spider-Man had fought it off. It sneaks into his closet pretending to be his regular blue and red costume, and then it takes over him. And he fights it, but it has taken over him. So whenever he fights off against the Volturions here, or Volturions, maybe that's how you pronounce it, the costume is fighting him. So it's trying to lead him away from the Baxter building. It's trying to get him away from that, from the idea that Mr. Fantastic is going to again throw those sounds at it and be able to capture the costume. So the costume doesn't want that to happen. So what does the costume do? It fights until it can't fight no more, where Spider-Man finally is able, or Peter Parker rather, is able to kind of control his own body. Spider-Man says, okay, wait, maybe I can recreate the sounds at this church. And the bell rings, right? Like when the bells are ringing, and sure enough, it's working. Now, Peter Parker is defeated. He is laying there dying, and the costume can escape and go find another host. But because he's been living within Peter Parker for so long, there's a little bit of goodness left in him, and it's almost sad. And it just fizzles away and dies, and Peter Parker's there left in his underwear. Now, if you know the story of Venom, of course, this isn't the ending. As a matter of fact, that church is a very iconic place for the birth of Venom, but that doesn't happen until a few years later when that's retcon. So, what is this omnibus about? Well, it is throwing some new characters in here. You're going to see a creation of other characters through these pages, but you're going to see some classic characters come through here, like the Kingpin and Vanessa and the Vulture when he finds out that these new punks had stolen his technology. You're going to see Peter Parker still dealing with the people at the Daily Bugle, and also his relationship with Mary Jane. And this is also after he had broken up with the Black Cat. So he brings that up quite often. Again, the financial struggles of Aunt May. No longer is she dying in every issue. Now she's just broke. And Peter wants to help, but she can't ask for help. You'll see the return of classic villains. Oh man, I love this right here. I think it's done so well. This again is done by Greg LaRocque, who did the artwork for, I just did an overview of Mark Waid's run on, I almost said Daredevil. Flash. Yes, The Flash. So if you're familiar with his work there, it's very dynamic. It works with the character of Spider-Man. You'll see him fight Doc Ock here. Some really iconic images. Louise Simonson is who kicks it off, but this does have a rotating guest of different writers, like Danny Fingeroth writes some issues in here. You saw that Peter David's issue is really unique. And this, I believe, had a connecting cover in Amazing Spider-Man. And this is the Gold Rush issue where the Kingpin comes in, and again causes trouble for none other than your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Yes, the connecting cover right here with Amazing Spider-Man. So this is the follow-up issues. So it's a little bit of a crossover. So in case you didn't know that there was another title, this is the first annual right here, which has a gorgeous cover by Charles Vest. Charles Vest doing those painted covers. And this one here is really sweet. I really like this issue right here because it focuses on this kid who's got this crush on this girl, and he's got this physical illness about him that he keeps replacing his dying body parts with these robotic parts, and he's trying to win over this girl that you don't really see. It's the girl next door. So he has this robotic inventions that he starts building, and they start stealing jewelry to impress her, and then Peter Parker gets involved. And I thought it was a sweet issue right here. And it is the annual. This is the Peter David story right here with our pal Sal doing the artwork. And it does feature Spider-Man fighting off against some nightmares. And this is the Charles Vest cover you saw for the standard edition cover, I believe. Oh man, this issue is... here's the thing about Web of Spider-Man. Web of Spider-Man, if you ask anybody, will say, amazing, spectacular, adjectiveless, and then Web of Spider-Man. It's usually most people's ranking. I've never really met anybody that was like, dude, Web of Spider-Man, best Spider-Man title. But there was some really good issues, including these right here, where Spider-Man meets this, homemade superhero, if you will. It's this guy that gains powers by building these pieces from a fallen meteorite. And he's fighting off against these racist bullies in town. And we are going to come back to this issue. It's a two-parter right here. And this is all taking place in the town of Smithville. And you've got this villain right here called... the main character is Smithville's Thunderbolt. And how Peter Parker's kind of like becoming a little bit of a vigilante. Not Spider-Man, but Peter Parker. The Shocker makes an appearance through here. But we do get some new villains. You may have heard of some of these. Let me see if I can find a couple of the new villains that you're going to be seeing through these pages. This right here, I think, is way ahead of its time. I think this is about a group of punks that just kind of burned down Peter Parker's building. So this is the issues where, again, he kind of relies more on being Peter Parker and less Spider-Man. I thought those issues were great. About, society and the social status of people. I love the whole small town thing. So it's like back to back, there were some really powerful issues while still, dealing with characters like the Black Cat through here. And I did point at this guy. He's not the black cat. This is the fox right there. And oh my gosh, annual number 2 right here. Another beautiful Charles Vess painted cover. But this has beautiful artwork, not only by Arthur Adams. I think most of us, most of us X-heads would be like, oh yes, annual number 2 has beautiful artwork by Arthur Adams, and it features the New Mutants. And Arthur Adams gets to have fun by drawing kaiju, and in his own unique way with Warlock. But it also has a story by none other than, here we go, Mike Mignola, inked by Jeff Isherwood. Just beautiful. The entire freaking annual that's filled with villains like Hobgoblin, Kingpin, and the Black Fox is drawn by Mike Mignola and Arthur Adams. I think it's great. It's a nice treat. And while the series didn't have a consistent writer and artist, they do a little bit later on when Mark Silvestri comes on board. He draws a lot of issues through here. And we do have some new supporting cast members too, or that play a bigger part through here instead of just kind of like being stuck as what I like to call extras, like in movies. They're just stuck in the background somewhere. He kind of builds a little bit of a relationship with one of these ladies too. What is her name? Joy Mercado. Yeah, I love it because they end up going to like London together. This is a 3-parter storyline right here. The Missing in Action. Where is Spider-Man? Where has he been? This is when Mark Silvestri takes on as the ongoing writer. And while Tom DeFalco is writing the stories in Amazing Spider-Man, the soon-to-be Amazing Spider-Man writer, David Michelinie, starts writing these issues. So there is a little bit of consistency here with the writers. Did we already skip, or did I not talk about Chance? Because this is the first appearance of Solo, also the character of Humbug. Oh, and very important, right here. This is issue number 18. To all you Venom lovers out there, issue number 18 is very important because it could be, no, we know it is, the first appearance of Venom in like a little cameo. I don't even know how people grade their books or the value of single issues anymore, so I don't even know why I'm bringing this up. But in case you're wondering, yeah, this is the issue where Peter Parker gets pushed and the train's about to run over him and he jumps out of the way and he's like, oh my gosh, how did that even happen? My spider sense didn't warn me. And you're like, whoa, son of a, what does that mean? And that's right. Venom, right? We don't find out until later, though, when, of course, David Michelinie introduces the characters in the pages of Amazing Spider-Man. But for a while, he's here, along with Mark Silvestri. This is the story where they end up going to London. This is the story where there's a fake Spider-Man out there somewhere. And this is Jim Shooter and Lynn Kaminsky working together, again, with Mark Silvestri. So Mark Silvestri is on the book for a while with rotating inkers right here through these pages. The return of the Vulture happens through here. Peter Parker and Aunt May finally make up. And it does rely heavy on the idea that you're reading the other titles too, because the relationship for Peter Parker and somebody like Mary Jane, it's elevated to a new level, but it doesn't happen in the comics here. They do talk about it here, but it happens on the main title. This is the Coming of the Rose. There's even an intergalactic battle storyline that takes place through here by Larry Lieber and Vince Colletta. And these stories, these characters come back later on and will play a bigger part later on in the pages of Web of Spider-Man. All right, I know I've passed up the character of Chance because I think he was in the early teens, like 13, 14, 12. I wanted to come. Yeah, okay, there he is. Right here, this guy. This is his first appearance. And I think I wasn't getting Amazing Spider-Man at the time, but I did pick up those issues with Venom. And the real first full appearance of Venom happens in, 298, 299. But that's when he's fighting Chance. So that's how I met the character. But if you're a big Chance fan, his first appearance is through these very pages here. This is another one of those books right here that relies heavily on you reading Amazing Spider-Man and Wolverine and Spider-Man, the one-shot. They talk about it here, and you can figure out what ends up happening. It's in the aftermath of that, because it starts with a funeral. So it's interesting that at least Spider-Man and Wolverine wasn't collected in here, but I was told when I asked if that could be added, that really belongs in an Amazing Spider-Man collection. So hopefully they're thinking about mapping in the future. They're thinking about putting that in an Amazing Spider-Man collection. Maybe with the idea that, well, not everybody that's getting Amazing Spider-Man is going to get this, but people that get this more than likely are all buying Amazing Spider-Man Omnis already. The Rose, that's right, Richard Fisk making a big move here. He's utilized a little bit later in the pages of, oh my gosh, In the Name of a Rose, that big crossover, and then of course when he comes back for the Bendis storyline, is it Underboss? Or no, the Faulty King. Anyway, probably the greatest Spider-Man saga here, and that is Kraven's Last Hunt. Everything I said about the Omnibus so far about it, it's not great for beginners. You have to have read everything else. I take back when you're looking at this 6-part crossover. It is the story of Kraven and his final hunt. And the hunt begins, and it is brutal. You don't really have to know who the character Peter Parker is, his status quo. You just know that this guy dresses like a spider, and this guy hates him. And he is out for blood. But not in the way that a lot of villains are. Like, he's losing his mind. He ends up burying Peter Parker, Spider-Man, alive, and then becomes the Spider. I am the Spider. Oh, man, do I love this. Just like everyone else. Mike Zeck firing on all cylinders. J.M. DeMatteis' story is firing on all cylinders. This is, to me, the perfect Spider-Man story. We've done an old reader, new reader on it. We've talked about it. Hopefully, there'll be a gallery edition one day because it deserves to be in the biggest format possible, and it is just amazing. And again, this is why they warn you. They have that warning at the very beginning. Now, the issues, I'm so glad that the issues of Amazing and Spectacular are collected in here. From that, we go to another story that was previously collected in trade paperback format, and that's the Mad Dog Ward storyline. It was collected in trade paperback with its sequel, but this is the original 3 parts, written by Ann Nocenti, Cindy Martin doing the pencils, and then Steve Leialoha doing the inks. I thought this was such a great story. It's a weird storyline where there's these 2 traumatized kids because their father's abusive and their mother's trying to protect them, and that's where the first storyline, What's the Matter with Mommy, starts. What ends up happening is that Peter Parker gets involved in the story with these kids, and it ends up putting him trapped in the Mad Dog Ward. And the Mad Dog Ward is this asylum for serial killers and psychopaths, and some people at the ward think they're superheroes. So you can probably tell where this is going, right? If Peter Parker, the actual superhero, gets stuck in this asylum for people that think they're superheroes and they're giving them drugs, yes, you can figure that out. Now, the original 3 issues are collected in here. This doesn't have the... what was the follow-up? I think it happens in Amazing Spider-Man 295. And I know it happens in an issue of a Spectacular Spider-Man. This is annual number 3, and I think it's such a unique way of doing an annual. I really like this annual. So see what I mean? There are definite highlights. This is Web of Spider-Man annual number 3. And the way this is done, it's done in like a index style, like the handbook of the Marvel Universe style, like a catalog of like Spider-Man trivia with like quick little quippy bios for Peter Parker and Mary Jane, and of course the rest of the cast. Now, one thing you probably noticed that did not happen in the pages of Web of Spider-Man is this right there. Wait a minute, that's not her last name. And then people that have gone on before Spider-Man and some of his supporting cast and some of the villains. And I love this is like a throwback to the Silver Age type of stuff too. I love the bios. I think they're really beautiful pinups from like Don Perlin and other different artists. Everybody is credited who wrote it and then of course who drew it. I think it's such a unique annual. And then you have pinups, Marvel Age. So we're looking at the extras now. This is the connecting covers. The beautiful painted original art right there. And speaking of original art, oh my gosh, who owns that page? That is beautiful. Maybe Arthur Adams does, because he loves him some kaiju. And my exact pencils right here from, of course, Kraven's Last Hunt. What else do we have? Oh, the trade paperbacks right here. And these are the intros to the collections. That one was a hardcover. I used to have that one. I love the story so much, so I think I've had it just about in every format. And then, yeah, the premiere hardcover reprints right here from Marvel Tales. The Essential. I forgot this had been released in Essential format. So at least the stories in here have been collected before. I didn't have these because at that time, I think I was 2010. By 2010, I had just gotten rid of all my Essentials. So I don't think I ended up getting those if they came out around that time. And then your end sheets. All right, let's look at the binding and the build here. 1,128 pages. And it is sewn binding. This one is printed at the iMac printer. And because I think lately I've been reading a lot of Donnelly printer books, there is, or I at least notice, the bleed through happening more in this book than the Donnelly printer, which I think has always been the case anyway. But I did notice it here because I don't see a lot of iMac books these days from Marvel, but you can definitely see the word bubble, the frames, especially if it's a white or light color right there. Oh yeah, I did not forget. I wanted to come back to issue number 8, and I wanted to talk about, yes, right here. So the derogatory term that these jerks are throwing around to this Jewish person and later on this black kid, they have been censored. So they're blacked out right now, as you can see. Just in case, very similar to what they did in the Fantastic Four, the new printing, the John Byrne Fantastic Four, God Loves Man Kills, and just wanted to let people know, because there are people that like their books the way they were when they were originally printed, and other people don't mind at all. But I did want to point that out for those folks. Now, let's talk about the way the book lays over. Looking at the spread page right here, so you do have some gutter loss going on. Let's look at the back, because we did see some connecting covers in the back, and that can give you an idea as how it lays over back here. Now, these were 2 different covers. They could have put a frame around it. I'm surprised they didn't, but no, they put them together. So you do have some gutter loss right there. But that is it. That is Web of Spider-Man. And that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsors. BD Cosmos, the Canadian leader in graphic novels. They have a physical storefront in Montreal, Quebec, and their website, bdcosmos.com, offers 25% off your order of over $99 or more, and free shipping everywhere in Canada for every order of $250 or more.
Their shipping care is exceptional. Your books will stay cozy through the rough Canadian weather and arrive to you in near mint condition.
After checkout, let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way, and you'll be added to the monthly $25 gift card raffle. Entries are valid for new and returning customers.
Don't be afraid to call or email them. Ask them questions. Their staff is always happy to help guide you towards the right purchase. Visit their website, bdcosmos.com, for more. BD Cosmos, with rewards and raffles taking care of customers in Canada. Eh?
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this omnibus. Let me know in the comments down below if Spider-Man is your character and you're gonna buy no matter what Spider-Man omnibus they put out, or if you're a little bit pickier and choosier. There's nothing wrong with that. I know several of my viewers only get Uncanny X-Men or just Uncanny and Adjectiveless. They don't care about Wolverine. They don't care about X-Force or New Mutants. And I know several of my viewers that only get Excalibur. So I am curious, is there anyone out there that is only getting Web of Spider-Man Omnibus? They don't care about Amazing. They don't care about Spectacular, Adjectiveless. They just want their childhood, and for some reason, it was just Web of Spider-Man. Any questions, leave them down below. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. Everyone stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.